Perhaps you've hit a plateau that has you asking, is this it? Have you accomplished all you've set out to do in life and are not feeling as fulfilled as you thought you would? It is normal at midlife to reassess what's working for you and what's not. It's also normal to want to reclaim your time, your energy, and your joy. Let's make the best out of the second half of our lives by having more fun, experiencing more peace, and feeling more joy. If any of this resonates with you, then this podcast is for you. I'm Megan Bayles Bartley. Now let's get ready to shift our shit. Hello there, Megan Bayles Bartley here with Season 4, Episode 9. We are talking about resetting and the reset. We're looking at my book, Reset, 6 Powerful Exercises to Refocus Your Attention on What Works and Release What Doesn't. And in today's episode, I am going to talk about some of my own experiences with these exercises and how it has helped me create some really, really cool things in my life. So, one of the things that I'll talk about today is I lived in Louisville, Kentucky for my graduate work at the Presbyterian Seminary in 2001 to 2003. And a very chance encounter happened in 2002. Now, years before, I was not a person who ever really dreamed of being married or having kids, or, that would have been fine, but it wasn't something that I felt like I had to do that thing. I like the idea of being in a partnership, of sort of having a witness person to live my life with, a companion. I liked that idea and was open to that and wanting that, but I also knew that I was really okay by myself. I tend to be a little bit more on the introverted side. I like small groups. I like a lot of quiet. I need a lot of time by myself. So I wasn't always sure how I would do, living long term with somebody else. But anyway, I digress. So somebody at some point asked me or tasked me with this idea of writing down, if I was going to be in a long-term relationship, either partnered, spouse, something, what were all the qualities that I would want in that person, from physical qualities to personality qualities, anything and everything that I could think about. And I had thought about this on and off for quite a while. This was kind of in my early mid-20s. And I had thought, as a kid or young person, like I kind of had this idea. I'm a bit of a planner. So I thought I'll probably be married by 25. If I'm going to have kids, I probably would have kids by 30. I kind of had this in my mind. So when 25 rolled around and I wasn't, there was no prospects of a partner person, I had kind of, not given up, but kind of given up. Like I kind of was at the point where I was like, screw it. Like I'm not even going to think much about this. I'm just going to have fun, which we've talked about historically. I didn't really know how to have fun, and my version of fun is probably not what other people's version of fun is. But somebody had tasked me with this idea of writing down all the qualities in my ideal person. And I took that very seriously and, really at the top of my list, because I am a tall person, I'm 6 feet tall. So at the top of my list, I really wanted my ideal mate person to be taller than me. Okay. Because why not? Like I'd always felt like I was, taller than everybody else and had never really dated anyone who was like taller than me. It was always sort of maybe the same height or a little bit shorter. So clearly, that was important to me. But, I listed all of these qualities like great sense of humor, really kind, responsible, mature, like a lot of maybe qualities that I even had in myself. So, which oftentimes we do. Now, clearly, I have a type. I did date somebody at one point who had a lot of these qualities, and we had fun and all the things, but there was just didn't feel right. There was just maybe the lack of maturity. I mean, we were like early 20s at the time, and I wasn't looking to settle down or anything. But I remember ending that relationship and just thinking, that was okay, but really, I need this to go. I need this person to kind of be at the next level, to take life a little serious, have a career, be driven, and whatnot. So at 25 in 2002, I was 25 years old, probably about 6 months after my birthday or so. It was my second year of graduate school, and a friend of mine invited me to a softball game, for those of you in Louisville, at Tom Sawyer Park. And it was, I think, the first day back at school, had a pretty light day, and I decided, sure, I'll go to this softball game, like just give her fun, like wasn't expecting anything. And I show up at the softball game, and 2002, I was wearing denim overalls, not trying too hard. I was, I think, wearing a tank top, no makeup, Birkenstocks, like, just showing up exactly as I would, And I show up at the softball field, and I'm looking towards the bleachers, and I noticed somebody there that I was like, man, that person looks really familiar. Just had this sense of familiarity to it. And I was like looking, and I was like, who is that? And how do I know this person? So, I'm watching the softball game, sitting on the bleachers. I asked my friend who had invited me, like, who's that guy? And he had said, oh, that's Ben Bartley. He is one of my top favorite people of all time, 5 favorite people of all time. And I was like, well, how have I never met this guy before? And he was like, oh, he doesn't live here. He's just visiting his parents. He, lives in Texas, like all these different things. I was like, that's weird. So, my friend said, do you want to meet him? I'll introduce you. And I said, nah. I was like, if I want to meet him, I'll introduce myself. Modern woman that I was. So I'm watching this game, enjoying my time, and I'm noticing that this guy, Ben Bartley, has this ball cap on, and it has a kanji character, a Japanese character that I recognize too. And I can't place it. I'm in, Louisville, Kentucky, sitting at a softball game, and I notice on the hat that, I could see something about Arizona. And I had moved from Tucson, Arizona, where I had worked at the University of Arizona, to Louisville, Kentucky to go to school and get my master's in marriage and family therapy. So after the game ended, they were making plans to go out for a beer, celebrate. I don't know if it was the end of the season or what the deal was. I was like, sure, I'll tag along. So up walks this Ben Bartley guy in front of the bleachers. He's kind of pacing in front of the bleachers. And I thought, what is he doing? Like, I couldn't figure this out, but I kept looking at the hat, and I see that it says Arizona. And I asked him, I said, hey, is that a University of Arizona hat? it just was so out of place in Louisville, Kentucky. And he looked at me and he said, yes, it is. And from there on, we just had this incredible conversation and connection about all of these really seemingly bizarre coincidences, which the more I read about randomness and coincidences, there may really not be anything as coincidence, which is really kind of interesting to me. Again, back to my study of quantum physics and whatnot. So from then on, clearly my last name is Bartley. We dated long distance and we got married 2 years later. I moved to Texas, all these things, but it was just so interesting, first of all, how he had all of the things on my list of all the characteristics that I really wanted in a life partner. The one thing that he did not have was that he is not taller than me. And so I had to make a choice if I was going to be okay with him being an inch or two shorter than me, if I'm barefoot or without, with shoes. And I was like, of course, does that really matter in the grand scheme of things? So that, there's way more to that story. And so if you know me personally, I'll be happy to share with that with you. But just a really, seemingly chance encounter meeting my now husband of 20 years this year. So another way I did this, or that I used these exercises to get what I was wanting. I'll try to be brief with these. The first one was when we were living in Texas, we knew it was time to move. We had gotten married, bought a house, had a dog. We had a 3-year-old, almost 4-year-old, and a baby. And we were ready to leave Texas. It just, the heat was just getting to us. It just felt like we were constantly it was a struggle. And it was just not where we were meant to be anymore. We'd been there for 11 years. So we had talked about for about a year, we're ready to move. So we got serious about this, let's say January of 2014. And I said, we are going to decide where we're going to move to. We didn't even know where we were going to move to by April 1st, 2014. And we will move by June 1st, 2014. So my husband was like, all for it. Great. So I start writing down sort of, the goal, the affirmations, all the things, the real clarity about, what did we want the city, state, to feel like where we were moving, the neighborhood, the house. What did we want accessibility to? What kind of schools did we want? What kind of life did we want to have? Just everything that we could think of. I just kind of, let my imagination go wild. This is where your imagination is super powerful. And, what would be my ideal scenario? And so, I remember things of the kids love their schools. I love my work. Ben loves his work. We love our neighborhood. We have a swimming pool. We have a, 4 or 5 bedroom house because Ben works from home. So we needed room for an office. Our house feels, like being on vacation. It feels like it's a good entertaining house. It has a lot of light. Just all these, really specific things, but also how it felt, a feeling of this. And we didn't know where we were going to move to. So this is let's say January. So I am journaling every day. I write down, these sort of affirmations or this kids love their life. I love my life. Ben loves his life. We love our neighborhood. We love all these things. So we were looking at several different cities, Kansas City, Seattle, California, Kalamazoo, Michigan, Louisville. So we had all these different cities. We had visited all these cities within the last year to kind of get a sense like, okay, could this be the city? So at the time we had a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. So we were just decided, which this is not how I've, operated most of the time, is let's just do what's easy. What is our easiest option? And at that time, it was Louisville because Ben's parents live here. His sisters live within, the Ohio and Wisconsin vicinity. So driving distance just felt easy. Great cost of living. We'd both been around Louisville. We're familiar with Louisville. So on April 1st, 2014, we decided to move to Louisville. I booked tickets for 2 weeks later to come to Louisville to find us somewhere to live, for the kids to have schools, preschools, all the things. And, didn't have any attachment to, we have to find it within this, trip to come see this stuff. But because I had been journaling and because I had been really clear about what we were going for, I worked with a realtor who showed me a couple houses, like maybe 4 or 5. It wasn't very many. And when I saw the house that we live in now, I was like, this is the house. And this is the neighborhood. It has a pool in the neighborhood. It's biking distance to the elementary school, like just a lot of the things that I was going for on this list. So, so we put an offer in on the house on April 24th, which is my birthday, which was really cool. We got it accepted and we were in the house by June 26th. Our closing date was June 26th, 2014. So we packed up and moved. We put our house on the market right when we got back. Our house sold right away. We left Austin, Texas, I think maybe June 1st of 2014. And we closed on our current house on June 26th. So in that 6-month period, we made it happen. Now that was 10 years ago today, and I still feel the same way about this house and the neighborhood and our life here in Louisville as what I was going for, at the beginning of 2014. So until that changes or I'm ready for the next thing, I feel like I'm living my best life. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about my career, because when I moved here 10 years ago, I had to start all over again as a therapist. So I knew that I wanted a group practice where I could help supervise newer therapists and get them up and running in their careers. I knew I wanted to own the real estate, the offices that the practice was in. And I knew I wanted to have sort of online presence, online courses, and that kind of stuff. So 10 years ago, moved to Louisville with 0 clients. I spent 3 years in a solo practice, building up my clientele in any way, shape, and form that I could. Started the Louisville Mindfulness Center in 2017 with 2 other therapists, so 3 of us total. Bought my first office condo in 2018 and grew, the company, rebranded it to the Mindfulness Center last year, and have accomplished everything I set out to do. Have online courses, have online CE courses, have gone overboard. I wrote a book, wrote 2 books, did a podcast, And so as I have been going through this book with you during this season, I have learned a lot, and it's kind of been manifesting for about the last year. But I have realized, I'm not too far from 50, and I have been hustling hardcore for 10 years here in Louisville, and I'm kind of tired. just to put it real frankly, like I'm tired and I've done a lot and I've accomplished a lot, and I'm kind of ready to not be so accomplishment based, which is very new for me because for 47 years, everything has been about like achievement, get the A's instead of the B's in school and be the top basketball player in high school and, get, achievement based, write a book, do a podcast. So I feel like I've done everything I've set out to do, and I want to kind of take a break. So I am announcing that I'm taking a pause to this podcast, and I'm going to take a little bit of a break and see how that sits with me, see how that sits with our listeners. I would love your feedback to see if you miss us, if you miss me in this podcast, if there's certain other topics you really want us to talk about. We want you to send us an email, shiftingourshit@gmail.com. I will still be here at the Mindfulness Center. I will still be seeing clients. I will still be supervising therapists. So I'm still doing all of those things. I'm just going to kind of, ride the train that's already rolling down the tracks instead of trying to add more cars to the train, and kind of just allow myself a little bit of a break because I'm tired and I need a rest. So I am embracing the rest. And I encourage you to see if there's things in your life that you need a break from, or you need to put a boundary up with, and where you might need a pause and a rest. So I know this might be a surprise to some people, and, I have loved doing this, and I'm glad I did it, and I'm just ready for a rest and a pause. So email us, shiftingourshit@gmail.com. Visit us on our website, mindfulness-center.com, to see all the cool things that we have. And hopefully we'll be back in touch soon.